Hello, everybody. Roberto Hansen, Spanish teacher, Henry Sibley High School. My master's thesis was to help Latinos stay in school and not drop out.
Right.
High school.
Yeah.
2001, 4 years, that class 4 years before, 62% of the students at Henry Sibley High School that were Latino were no longer in the school. Statistics would show that 50% of them probably dropped out. Today, that statistic has not changed much in the Twin Cities nor the nation. At Henry Sibley High School 2018, the white population had great increases, 93.4%, which is awesome. The school helped out that population. The white population did very well. That's what we're talking about. That's because, well, my master's thesis works. But other than that, the district bought into it and increased and did other things as well proactively to help out the population pre-K all the way to the high school. I brought some of my kids today. One of the things that's especially important to keep kids in school is for them to create an identity within the school. I interviewed over 80 dropouts, and none of them had that. And so what I created through Almas is an identity within the school. And part of that is to develop pride in their own culture and have that as part of the school. So if we could, we're gonna have to move some tables around because this is a Mexican folklore dance that has some movement in it. So if you don't mind. So this is a dance that comes from the state of Sinaloa in Mexico.
Right.
In mythology, it is said that the toro, or the bull, danced mambo.
Oh, right.
And so in Sinaloa, with the influence from the Caribe, as you can tell with the little armbands there, they created this dance, which is called El Toro Mambo.
Ooh, el toro mambo. Mambo.
Okay, we're just going to take a few minutes here. We have the privilege of having some people in the room that I think can really help promote some of the work that we're trying to do here and address. Senator Fong Hyde and Senator Chris Eaton are here today. So I'm going to ask Senator Fong to come in and maybe say a couple of words, and then also followed by Senator Eaton. Thank you.
Well, I'm very honored to be here, and also very thankful to see all of you coming together in a multicultural kind of way, and also, at the same time, the little festivity here that we just saw. It's important to always go back to your roots and confirm your identity, the identity of caring to this earth, and I'm glad that we focus on the opiate epidemic that we are facing in our state, and the crisis that we are actually. We're happy that this year legislation we passed some dollars, but actually we are late in the game and working toward it, and I'm glad that we have different partners that are here to share our goals and also share about our struggles, so we can try to figure out the better plan to help our young people and even the adults and the parents as well. I come from a culture of opiate grower, as a matter of fact. If you look at the history of Southeast Asia, the Boxer rebellions, the conflict of Hong Kong, all that, I know the drug is very potent, it's very addictive. Will cause harm to society, especially our modern society. But we can do this legislation that we passed this year without a strong effort, a champion of this issue, and she would know more than anything else. She's just not putting legislation forth, but actually she experienced firsthand with her daughters as well. And so, I'm glad that she actually put her personal life in front of us and trying to push forward for getting some funding to make sure that this we reduce the epidemic and as much as we can in our state. So I'm gonna pass on to Senator Eden. I'm so honored that you're here. As a matter of fact, I know Carmen Robles, and half of you here are my constituents. So I'm the neighborhood guy, but I'm so glad that Senator Eden. This is something that she cares so much about, that she come all the way from Brooklyn Park, and, the northern part of Brooklyn Park, to be here. She was on time, unlike me. I jump around to different activities, and I'm here. But I'm so glad that Senator Eden. Thank you. What an honor for you to join us. So I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Thank you. Senator Herr and I work on a lot of issues together, and this is one that, as he said, is very important to me. I am a person in long-term recovery, and that means that I don't use any alcohol or drugs and haven't for 34 years. So my daughter died of an opioid overdose in 2007, and I did not know she was using heroin. I thought she was using my drug of choice, alcohol, and was in trouble with partying too much until the police came to my door and told me that she had died in her car of an overdose. So I got involved in the opioid epidemic at that point and entered the Senate in 2011. And in 2014, we passed Steve's Law, which made naloxone available to everybody and first responders, third party, and along with the, thank you, the Good Samaritan component, where if you call for help, you won't be arrested for the drugs and paraphernalia on site, because all those components are part of what happened with my daughter. The person with her ran and hid stuff so he wouldn't get arrested while she died, and so on. And the first person on the scene was a police officer who didn't have naloxone because they weren't allowed to carry it at that time. So that was Steve's Law. And then this past year, we just passed the Opioid Epidemic Response Bill Act, which the first meeting of the council is tomorrow. And one of the reasons I'm here is that I'm not sure there's any representation of the Latinx community, and I think it's important that the $20 million that we're going to be bringing in and spending every year in Minnesota goes to all the communities who have this issue going on. I think with addiction, we all share some pretty common components. I could relate to the stories from these young men. Addiction's kind of addiction, it follows a path. But in the context of culture, that's where you get recovery. And everybody, I'm a strong believer in individual person-centered care, whether I'm a 40-year mental health nurse. And I think if we don't treat each individual as an individual, we're never going to conquer this epidemic. We did have a decrease in deaths last year, but I think that has more to do with naloxone, because we had just as many, if not more, overdoses. And so, because, I guess what I'm saying is I don't think what we're doing works. I think we need to get creative. I think we need to put more effort into recovery, and I need your help to tell us what we need to do for the Latino community. I don't know. I'm not part of it. But the other piece is that I just think that it's time that we quit treating drug addiction like alcohol addiction. It's different. And all of our treatment centers are centered on alcohol, and it's not working. I talk to patients, I talk to families, I talk to treatment center workers, and a great number of them tell me that what we're doing isn't working. So I need creativity. I need people to come up with plans and put in these proposals to our groups so we can fund it and we can make a difference. I'm tired of greeting parents who've lost their children, and I'm talking usually 20-somethings. And my daughter was 23, and it's too traumatic, and I don't want other parents to have to go through that. So I thank you for inviting me here today, and I was so glad to see it. I've tried to connect with other different communities, and so I want everybody in Minnesota represented there.